Hello, hello, and welcome to Decaf, a production of the Beacon Center of Tennessee. Taylor and Mark back with you. And hey, Mark, from one sweaty person to another sweaty person, happy first taste of fall. Last night, I was rolling the trash cans. My roommate and I were rolling the trash cans to the driveway. And this is the first time in months I have not broken a sweat at 8 o'clock at night rolling the trash cans down the driveway for trash pickup today. And let me tell you, it was grand. This means that the mosquitoes are going to go away. This means that my makeup is going to stay on longer. My hair will stay curled. And I know that those are all really just like vain observations. But listen, if I'm not vain, then I'm not me. So I am here for it.
Yeah, from a comfort level, it's this morning I took Slayer at like 6 a.m. and like this is the first time it's felt like fall. Like this,
Feels so good.
legitimately feels like fall. So I'm very excited. Unfortunately, I'm going to Mexico for my sister's wedding as soon as it becomes fall here. So I'm going to go back to 95-degree weather. But
it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. But at least you'll return home to pleasant, lower humidity. We went to a middle school football game last night for some of our friends from church. And I was wearing jeans and I wasn't sweating. Blake was wearing a long sleeve t-shirt, not sweating. It was like, this is the weather that I live for. This feels like football. It feels like soup and it feels like hot tea. It's perfect. And call me basic, but that's who I am.
I kind of wish you didn't have friends. You just went to a middle school football game just to like watch it. Be like, I'm really like betting on middle school football, so you had to go watch the game or something like that.
What's so funny is my roommate and I are like total opposites. I talk about her a lot on here, but we're total opposites. And she said, if I had said the sentence, I just came back from a middle school football game, you would have reason to call the police because I'm not a kids person. But it just like made sense and like no one questions it. Like, oh, I went to a middle school football game. I have kid friends. Like I have kid friends. I was there with the whole family. No questions.
As far as I question it right away, I'm like, that is pretty weird. Please explain more.
I have friends, and they're both on the team. They're both on the team.
I don't think people believe you have friends, but if you say so, we'll get from
Okay, this is really deteriorating very quickly. Let's move on. It is great to live in Nashville, and we talk about it a lot, but there are some downfalls to living in Nashville, like how freaking expensive it is. We talk about that a lot too. But a recent report came out saying that, shockingly, at least to me, Memphis actually pays a higher property tax rate than Nashville does. Memphis is 16th in the nation for property tax rates, where Nashville, I think, landed at 43. Now, I kind of tend to think that that's kind of relative because housing in Nashville is so much more expensive. And so we are getting hit by that rate, even though it is lower than Memphis. We're getting hit even harder by that rate. But the rate that we are paying, even though it's lower than Memphis is higher. Any rise in property taxes for either of us is going to be a substantial hit on families. And it's hard to view that in the lens of Tennessee is one of only 4 states that doesn't have a cap on property tax rate increases. If you can believe that. Like, not even a handful, not even my tiny little baby hands handful of states don't have a cap on property tax increases. And then you got this report coming out saying that even though those of us in Nashville are hurting with our property taxes, Memphis is even higher. And it was an interesting report to see because it kind of put some things into perspective, but it also kind of fueled my fire of like, why don't we have a cap on these increases? We're seeing counties and cities across Tennessee increasing property taxes. And in the same article, which you can read on News Channel 5's website about this report, they talk about the revenue to spending ratio and how Nashville is just spending money. Memphis is doing the same. We talk about some of that in our upcoming pork report, the ridiculous things that Nashville and Memphis are spending money on, and their citizens are paying for it. And it feels wrong. And something needs to be done.
I think Memphis is a tough thing too, because I mean, you talk about this and yes, it is a higher tax rate for the most part. People in Nashville are paying more because the properties are worth so much more, but there's also a lot less money in Memphis. There's a lot less people who have the money to be paying these high property taxes. And the bigger issue becomes, well, what are the property taxes going to, right? They're going to fund the FedEx Forum, an NBA stadium. They're going to fund the Liberty Bowl. They're going to fund all of these things. While meanwhile, they're going to fund Memphis Edge, who just gives money to any company who wants it. And if you're paying a little bit higher property taxes, but you feel safe and you feel like the public schools are great and things like that, that is not the case in Memphis. So this idea that Memphis is in the top 16 in the whole country for the highest property taxes is really concerning, because that's a place where people aren't going as is. People are scared. I mean, even visitors, like whether it's fair or not, Memphis has this, people view it as this really dangerous city and they wouldn't want to move there. Like, oh, I might move to the outskirts, but not in the city. So on top of that, saying you also have to pay higher property taxes. And the bigger issue becomes, which is kind of goes back to your property tax, cap, is if people with money or people, are just moving out of the city of Memphis, like, I don't feel safe, I don't feel protected, I don't think the schools are good. That means that they're going to have to raise these property taxes even more. And there's not really a limit on what they can do. So they can say, oh, you know what? We can't fund our budget because, we wanted to give all this money to Bass Pro Shops and IKEA. We can't fund our budget. So we're going to raise property taxes 50%, 60%. And there's nothing to stop them from doing that right now. And, of course, if that were to happen, people move out of Memphis. And then at some point, the state's responsible for this because they're going to be in so much debt. So there is a reason. And just to be clear, the property tax cap is something where, you could talk about what the number is, but if you raise property taxes over a certain percentage, say it's 2 or 3%, you actually have to get the people who live there to vote on it. So it's not saying it's not saying that it's capped there. It's saying, well, look, it's capped, but you can get, you want a 20% property tax increase, you can, but your citizens have to vote that it's a good use of money and that they're willing to pay more.
Yeah, convince us why you need the money. It's like asking for, I don't know if you ever did this, Mark, but anytime I would be like, Dad, can I have $20 to go to the book fair, like the Scholastic book fair that would like come through elementary school? And he would say, what are you going to buy? Because if you're going to buy another Matt Damon biography like you did last year, you can't have it. But if you're going to buy like a history book, then okay, here's $20. Like, whatever. Convince us why we're giving you the money. I'm not going to give you money for a Matt Damon book equivalent to a crappy television show, Bluff City Law, but money for extra police officers or to fix the roads or to upgrade infrastructure, sewage infrastructure, something like that, equivalent to a historical book. Okay, maybe we'll give you this money. Convince us of why you need this money. But I would not be inclined to vote yes with spending the way that it is. I mean, the example, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys about the pork report this year, but one of the examples from Memphis this year when I was editing just this week had my jaw on the floor. It's one that Mark wrote. It's just insane, the amount of money. And, people say about Memphis all the time, it is so unsafe, especially in the downtown area. Why is that money going towards something so frivolous and not toward increased security for the citizens that live there? And we saw it in Illinois also. As people were leaving Chicago, their property taxes and their tax rates were having to go up to make up for that tax base that was no longer there. We see it happen all over the country. If you're confused, Google it. You have the whole world of news at your disposal. Google it and see this has happened in places before where cities are not allocating their resources to serve their tax base. So their tax base says, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm done. I think it's a cautionary tale for cities like Memphis to look at places like Chicago where the property taxes were going up, 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 and people were headed out. And they need to take a solid look at that. And I think the state needs to take a solid look at that too and really evaluate, is this something that we want to be on the hook for? I mean, the state almost put Nashville in receivership just a few years ago, which means the state is responsible for Nashville spending. They also control it, but they're responsible for it. That's not something that we need to be on the hook for from where I'm sitting.
If I lived in Memphis, I would maybe consider voting for a property tax increase if you defund Memphis Edge, the economic development engine there. That is, I have never seen a worse economic development, agency. They spend money on the dumbest stuff. They love spending money on TV shows that are about to be canceled. That's like their big thing. But they are so bad. And to their credit, they're really, really transparent, which is why we know how bad they are. So I guess I give them credit for that, but also we're seeing how little they need to exist. I really am not happy with Memphis Edge. I think that if I was a Memphis taxpayer, I feel like that would be my number one pet peeve issues, like to get rid of them or to make them spend money in some kind of efficient way. Most economic development, engines are going to spend bad money that I don't love. This one is way worse than other ones. And I used to buy Captain Underpants. That was the book I bought at the Scholastic Book Fair. And it feels
Of course you did.
it feels like Memphis Edge is the Captain Underpants of spending money, in terms of like nobody should read it and they shouldn't exist.
Bass Pro Shops is my Matt Damon biography. Like, quit giving them money.
Yeah.
They make enough money.
Yeah, or
IKEA. IKEA is also my Matt Damon biography. Still have that book, by the way. It's a banger. But all that to say, I think that statewide people should really kind of hold their elected officials accountable and say, like, we need some protection. Like, this is out of control. As home values are going up, more and more people are moving into Tennessee. The home prices are going up, which means your tax rate is going to kick you in the Achilles tendon, which we'll talk about later. It's going to kick you in the Achilles tendon, and you're going to be really hurting with the taxes that you're paying. And being only one of only 4 states, since when is Tennessee a lagging state as far as good policy goes? That's not who we are. That's not us. And we shouldn't be just one of 4 states that doesn't have a property tax protection for its citizens. Think about it, people. Think about it and say something. That's enough of my soapbox for now. Let's shift gears. Oh, we just talked about Chicago. So let's talk about Chicago a little bit more. Throughout the entire pandemic, the Chicago Teachers Union, as well as several in California, but a lot in the Chicago, New York, all of those, Chicago was one of the worst teachers unions as far as just like not being able to stop running their mouths. And the head of the Chicago Teachers Union, as we just found out, let me back up. Also during the pandemic, there was a lot of good for me, but not for thee. I'll do this with my kids, but we're going to shut down all of these schools for your kids, but we'll send our kids to private schools. And the pandemic is over, as far as I'm concerned. But we're still seeing that all over the place. And the most recent example was in the Chicago Teachers Union. The head of the Chicago Teachers Union is sending her children to private school. And you know it's bad when CNN gets a hold of it and beats up on them. You know that it's bad when CNN catches the bone and runs with it. Mark, explain what happened, because you're the one who really watched this. I'm just getting heated up from afar.
Yeah, so Stacey Davis Gates, who's the head of the Chicago Teachers Union, sends her oldest child to a private school. Now, to begin with, that's not great, especially when you're the head of the teachers union, when you keep talking about that. But her past comments make this so much more frustrating. And it makes you feel like most of these people, if not all of them, who send their kids to private school, but also oppose school choice, are hypocrites to the highest degree. So the term that she said for private schools supported by taxpayer funds are segregation academies in 2018. So the same place that she sends her child, as a Black woman, is a segregation academy, according to her. I am just so sick and tired of these people who feel like when they send their kids to private school, they have the audacity to talk about how nobody else deserves to have private choices. Nobody else deserves that.
I know.
And they're the only ones. The poor people who are struggling in the inner city Chicago, they shouldn't get choices. But because you have a little bit more money, your kid should go there. Because guess what? If the public schools are as good as you say they are, why would you not send your kid there? Because that's who you represent. If you're representing your kid,
that's what drives me insane.
It's awful. And Corey DeAngelis does a great job just calling out all these people, but I don't want to hear you talk about what a disaster school choice is if you send your kids anywhere but the zone public school. Otherwise, you have no leg to stand on. And if anything, you're showing that, my words don't match my actions. And the reason for that is probably because you're getting money from the teachers union. You're either getting paid from them directly, you're getting donations from them, or, you're a shill for them. It is a really disgusting thing that has really gone the other way for them. The pandemic, I heard somebody say that Randy Weingarten is the best advocate for school choice you could possibly imagine, because she's almost a caricature of what the worst, idea of what a union head is, and only caring about ourselves, only caring about adults, and did not care at all about students. So this was just another one, and CNN, really give them credit. They really took her to task for her past comments. It was a 20-minute interview, and she should not have done it. She was flustered. Yeah. She had no idea to answer. She just, afterwards, if I was her PR person, like, wow, that was one of the worst things ever. And she was going on CNN, so she probably thought, oh, this is going to be a fine audience. It was not. She got killed. And the more and more this happens, the more and more people are going to realize what hypocrites these, people are.
I know. I think that's what drives me the most insane is the choice for me, but not for thee. Like, if you can afford to send your kid to a private school and that's what you choose, that's great. You are acting within school choice. If you then go talk out the other side of your mouth and say that school choice is terrible, blah, 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 give me my money, that's where I start to have a problem. I don't see how, and I've said this a million times, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I don't see how anyone can be against school choice, period. Like, I actually, and it's not just because I work for Beacon and I have to say that, like, I actually, like, in my brain it like doesn't compute how you can be against school choice unless you're getting paid to say that you're against school choice. Like, that's the only thing that I can really chalk that up to, because it doesn't make sense. And even the people who are saying they don't like school choice send their children to private schools in certain instances, like what we just talked about. So all of that to say, I am the biggest advocate for skepticism. And if you hear someone just absolutely beating the drum against school choice and it doesn't compute to you, think critically and see what's going on back there, because it doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
And I've never seen a group of people lie as much as the anti-school choice crowd. They just make up numbers and they'll find the one study
really
out
do.
of a million that was paid for by the teachers and be like, oh, it doesn't work that well. It's really insane. In my opinion, truly is that anybody against school choice generally, now I know there's different kinds of school choice, is either A, in the pocket of the teachers union, or B, not educated on the issue. It's one or the other. I don't think, like you said, there's a lot of issues where you say, oh, we're on one side. I get why you'd be on the other side. It makes sense,
Yes.
even if I disagree with it. This is not one of them.
This doesn't compute.
No, it doesn't. And, and the just complete hypocrisy of some of these people who say, calling the segregation academy and then sending your kid to the same private school. I mean, it's so, the difference between those statements are so vast. It's not even saying, oh, I'm not really for this, but okay, I can send my kid there because there's one really good school. You call it a segregation academy. How could you possibly send your kid to a segregation academy? It's ridiculous, and I'm glad, good for CNN for really calling her to task for that.
But before we move on, I will say this. If you're one of the people listening that doesn't understand school choice and is adamantly opposed to it, please let me know. I would love to just talk to you. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get mad. I just want to talk to you. I want to understand where you're coming from and see if you can understand where I'm coming from, because I think that there is a middle ground. I never try to convince anyone of anything, but I do want you to understand. So if you're listening to this and you're an anti-school choice person, reach out. Let's talk. I just want you to see where we're coming from here and why we don't understand your perspective. And maybe you can understand further understand why you don't understand our perspective, because this is something that I think that everyone truly can get behind, and we'll figure it out together.
And it's going to be hard. Our poll basically showed that only about, I think, less than 20% of people are anti-school choice. So it's going to be unlikely that you'll listen to this podcast and you're anti-school choice.
There's a few of you.
Yeah.
There's a few people out there, and if one of them just happened to come across our podcast, maybe we can talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's very few out there in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So crazy things happened in the NFL this weekend. Really switching gears here. I am one of the more squeamish people in the world. I got a weak stomach. Even if the other day I cut my finger and I couldn't even put a Band-Aid on it, Blake had to handle it because I couldn't even look at my own finger bleeding. I don't handle injury well. And I made the mistake of getting on social media the day after Aaron Rodgers basically snapped his foot off. And that video, that made me, I can't really even talk about it. What I will talk about though is, and I know that people are going to get mad about this, I'm kind of sad for the Jets fans. They were so excited. I mean, is it wrong to have sympathy for it? I don't care really about any team, but I kind of feel sad for them, Mark. They were so excited.
I'm more upset for Mark's fantasy team that had 2 of my 3 teams at Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback, because I really thought he was going to have a great year. So, 4 snaps in, and I lost a week because he had negative points. And if he just would have had a normal game, it was an easy win. But yes, I feel bad for Jets fans. Especially, I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. I feel bad for all these people. I mean, it's 4 snaps in the season, and the guy's 39 years old, so it's not like he has a lot of time. It's not like he can really come back. I mean, he's going to try, but it's a really sad injury. I mean, the positive is, which is crazy, the Jets did win the game. against the Bills, even without Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they came back. Their defense was incredible. But their odds for winning the Super Bowl after a win against a good team went from 16-1 to 65-1. And they won the game. That's how important Aaron Rodgers won. It's about the worst injury. A lot of talk on like Twitter or X about how this might be the worst injury ever for a fan base, where like they've been bad for so many years. They were so excited. They have the talent finally to win or at least make the playoffs.
So sad.
Early on. And, of course, you're hearing all the names of people they could get to replace him, including Colin Kaepernick, which is, I think, more from his camp.
Laughable. Like, my man, nobody wants him. But he's like, hey, you guys. Hey, guys, do you remember that I play football? Like, the picturing in my mind, sometimes I make up fake scenarios in my brain. But I was, like, dramatizing maybe him or his people calling the Jets. I like to think of it in my head as him calling. And I was just cackling when I read that headline that he was calling the Jets, seeing if they wanted him. Like, save yourself some time and money and dignity and just don't call Colin.
I can't hear his name brought up anymore. And again, I don't even care about his protest. That's not even what I'm talking about. As a player, he's been out of the league for 7 years. He's been out of the league for 7 years. The 2 or 3 years before that, he was terrible. He had one or two good years early in his career. He brought his team to an NFC Championship game. He didn't play most of that earlier season. It was Alex Smith that he replaced, but he had a couple good years. I'm not going to say he was always bad, but he is no longer good. He's older. There is a lot of other people. He would be maybe like 400th on my list of people to call. And it's crazy that you have people like Jamel Hill keep bringing him up. Outside, and again, I don't care about his advocacy. I don't care about any of that stuff. He's not played football in 7 years.
It's the talent. And it's a joke.
And he wasn't good before he retired. I mean, he was a backup quarterback to Blaine Gabbert. Like, he was not good. I can't deal with that. But with that being said, Zach Wilson, the Jets starting quarterback, is certainly not the answer. He was the first round pick 2 years ago, and he is not the answer.
Oh, yeah.
So I do expect they're going to sign a veteran quarterback. Their first call better be Tom Brady. I know there's some issues.
I was about to say, is Tom Brady coming back to the league?
There's some issues because he actually owns some of the Oakland Raiders, so he actually would have to sell that to be able to play. Because you can't own stock in another team and play. But there's some other guys like Matt Ryan. There's some guys who have played, some backups who have been cut. But it's a shame. I'm sad about it. I'm sad for Jets fans. I picked the Jets to win it all. I actually bet on that. That was my big bet. And I had Rodgers. I was really in on them this year. They still have an excellent defense. I'm excited to watch them. I usually hate New York teams. So I usually cheer against New York teams. But I like the Jets. I like Dalvin Cook. I like their team. I like their coach. I'm a fan of what they're doing. So I hope that they figure it out. I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. Not a huge fan of his, but I still feel bad for him.
And I know Blake texted me, and he was like, Blake was like, I know you hate Aaron Rodgers, but this is actually sad. And I was like, I am sad for him, and I'm mostly sad for the fans because I can imagine like if that happened to us, if Derrick Henry, God forbid, got hurt in the first game or something like that that would be so sad.
I think Titans fans would be cheering if Ryan Tannehill got hurt after this week.
That's why I didn't say his name.
But before we go, the craziest story was, I don't know if you noticed, but there's this one bar in Green Bay that said did you see the story that any?
I saw this.
The bar in Green Bay said that if Aaron Rodgers starts a game for the Jets and they lose, your entire tab for that night is on the house. It's free beers all around. So the moment Aaron Rodgers got hurt at this bar, people were just ordering drinks upon drinks. They were playing a really good team, and they're like, we're gonna get free drinks the whole night. So they were just running tabs up, and this bar was concerned, and they had a reporter there. So when the Jets came back and won in overtime, these people were like stunned and like, oh my gosh, I just have a $300 tab that I have to pay, which I think, in my opinion, I love seeing that. That is sweet revenge. I like that. I am so glad they have to pay.
That's funny.
And
that's
it's like,
funny. I just spent my kid's college fund.
It's Wisconsin, Green Bay, so they're not drinking a little. They are drinking a lot.
They're drinking a lot.
And just the faces of those people when the Jets returned a punt in overtime to win the game, were just like, I guess I have to pay now. Like, really a shocking thing. It's like when you bet a team up like 28, funny. And everyone just started, because he got hurt 4 plays in the game, so they had plenty of time to drink beers.
I know. That is so. I forgot that. I forgot they had that reporter there. I need to see those pictures. I need to go look at the pictures of the faces. That's incredible. Speaking of drinks, before we go, McDonald's is switching their model from We want to know what you guys think about this too. They're switching their model from self-serve soft drinks to you have to go up and ask for a refill for soft drinks. There's a lot of reasons why they're doing this. But one of the reasons it was, well, I don't know if it's actually their reasoning. They might be leaning on this reasoning, but in the article that I read about it, they're saying that if you drink one large soft drink a day, you hit your sugar equivalent according to the CDC of like what you should be drinking, like your sugar limit for the day. Those of us who are drinking Coke Zero are being punished for this, I think. And maybe this will be my new tirade because I tend to need Coke Zero in an IV, especially on a road trip. And I don't like to interact with people. It kind of scares me. And so I don't want to go up and ask for a refill. I would just rather like refill and refill and refill as much as I want. And I'm not having any sugar. And that makes me sad. But Mark, the real reason, which you pointed out, I think is actually I kind of get it.
Yeah, well, I need to first of all insult you because Coke Zero is worse for you than normal Coke. It's a lot of fake sugar in there, which is actually much worse for you by every standard. But with that being said,
it tastes amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, like, it's not like you're taking this healthy option. But McDonald's is ridiculous. They sell like these burgers that are like that will kill you if you eat. Like, I don't want to hear health guidance from McDonald's. Just acknowledge this. You're losing money because people are stealing, and that's why you're doing it. Just be honest about it. But I don't know if they're scared from the left, but that is the most absurd thing. Like McDonald's giving you health advice, right? Like that's like it's like Lizzo giving you health advice. I don't need to hear it from you. You are the kind of people who are, like you're making all the wrong choices and forcing people. Like it's not like McDonald's. Even their like salads are unhealthy, which I'm good with. That's great with that. Do whatever you want, but don't act like you care about consumers' health while you're offering like a quadruple Big Mac with like the worst, most unhealthy things you could possibly think of. It's ridiculous. I
know.
See, that makes me not want to go to McDonald's because stop lying. People can choose what they want to do, and people are stealing from you, and that's why you're losing money on that. You're also charged like 99 cents for every like that's part of what happens. So it's fine they do it. I don't care they do it. I wish they'd be honest about it because clearly,
I wish they'd be honest about
health
it.
has never been a priority for McDonald's, and it shouldn't be. It's a fast food place. If you want to go healthy, go get go to Whole Foods or go to whatever Trader Joe's.
Chopped.
Don't go to McDonald's. Chopped, yeah. So that's dumb, and it's obviously people are stealing, and ultimately this is a problem that we're seeing across the board, not just McDonald's. I mean, we're seeing major stores closing in places like Portland. When we were in Chicago, me and Kara took a walk, and there was a Walgreens that was closed all weekend. It was closed Saturday and Sunday, which is insane. And at 9 p.m. on weeknights it closes because obviously they are getting stolen from so much that their business model doesn't allow them to do that. So ultimately there needs to be something done about this. And these companies keep moving out of places like Portland, Seattle, even some that
it's not safe.
It's not safe, and they're losing money
for their employees. But it's not safe. They're losing money, but it's also not safe for their employees to be in a situation where, I was in a gas station recently and I was getting a Coke Zero, and there was this guy that walked in and he was back by the beer cave, and I saw him pull a 6-pack out of the beer cave and then kind of stand in the corner, and it seemed like he had his pants unbuttoned, so I looked away like I didn't want to see. And then he goes running out, and they were like, that guy just stole a bunch of beers. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why his pants were unbuttoned. He was shoving the beers in his pants, and he ran out, and they were like, well, we don't want to go catch him. What if he's got a weapon? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what if he has a weapon? I was standing right next to him. No, little girls that are working at this Shell station, don't go catch him because what if he has a weapon? This is a huge problem, and something needs to be done. I don't know why people are so emboldened to just steal stuff right now. I would never walk into McDonald's with my Nalgene and fill it up with Coke Zero. Who's going to do but people do that. It's
a lot
crazy.
Of people. And the issue is that there's a structure that rewards that. I know that me and Kira went to Macy's. I bought some shirts, and the guy there's like, oh yeah, somebody just stole a bunch of these shirts earlier. They spent and they're like, we are not allowed to do anything. We just have to let them go. We can't do anything about that. So there is these company policies. Yeah. And this is in, Franklin, and they just have to let them go. And that's their company policy. And ultimately, and I'm not saying in Tennessee, but in a lot of places, either police are not prosecuting this, or they're making it such a slap on the wrist. You can do it a million times and not get in any real trouble, where the risk reward is like, oh, I'll do this because like the chances of me getting in trouble are so little. That's a separate issue, and that's something that needs to be done because ultimately this is such a big problem that's going to get worse and worse. And these businesses that people love are going to go out of business because they can't do that. And we're going to hear from Seattle and Portland how they are not responsible for this, but like that is the laws that you pass where you basically criminalize stealing if it's under a certain amount. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a broad discussion.
Conversation. There's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had about the degradation of integrity and values in America.
Well, yeah,
that can be like a whole different discussion with this, but it all kind of plays into the same thing of how did we get to this place where people are emboldened and not afraid to steal and be dishonest, and then the good guys get punished.
What's incentives? It's incentives.
No, I know, but then the good guys are being punished.
I know.
Me, who goes in and pays for my soft drink and just wants to refill with my unsweet tea or my Coke Zero or my Sprite, whatever I'm drinking that day. I have to, you can't just go and self-serve like we could in the 90s, which was like the most fun thing of, remember making like the suicides and just getting like every little thing. Like I loved making those, like every single soft drink along the row. Kids aren't going to be able to do that anymore. The good guys are being punished because the bad guys are stealing. And this is just one micro example of what's happening. And it's really sad.
And the good guys are being punished more than that because they're having to pay higher prices at places when people are stealing. That's how that works. And it's really a disappointing structure. And, unfortunately we can't change necessarily like, the way humans are, and we can't make them necessarily more respect for saying, oh, this is somebody's personal property, but we can stop incentivizing them that it's actually a good idea for them to steal because ultimately the risk or the reward outweighs the risk, which is crazy. And I feel like that's a place that, I don't think we should be. And that's a separate conversation. I don't know all the answers. I do know that basically decriminalizing theft is not the answer.
It's never the answer. And we'll leave it at that. Thanks you guys for listening this week. We will be back next week with another episode. And like we said, if there's anything that we bring up in here that you don't understand or you want to talk about, call me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Thanks for listening.
Don't call her. She has to do a lot of stuff with work. Maybe email her. I don't need you talking to the phone for 8 hours a day.
About school choice. Me talking to like 100 people about school choice all day today. That would be a delight. That would be so much more fun than everything else I have to do. Don't do that. If you don't already, you should subscribe to Decaf on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and check us out at beacontn.org. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.